So now it's time to start with the JavaScript part of the project, which is random paragraph generator. So for that we need to use the script.js file. Now inside of that, first we need to get these IDs of the elements, that is the ID of this input type, and then we need to fetch the ID of this class, which is the row, and the ID is actually data. So we need to fetch the IDs of these two elements, and also we need to actually create this function inside the JavaScript. So I'm going to copy this generate and coming back to the script.js. So here we need to create this function, then I'm going to paste the name of the function and then start its curly brackets. And after that we need to create here a variables. So I'm going to create here a const. So this is actually going to have a paragraphs. So this is going to actually equals to paragraph of the arrays. And then we need to create the another variable here, so const, and this is of type item, and this is actually equals to the document dot get element by id. This is document dot get element by id, and we need to actually get the id of the items. So here inside the index.html, so this is the id, the items that we want to display, because every random paragraph is actually as an item. So inside the double quotes I'm going to paste the id name, and then also providing the hash symbol because it is an id. And after that we need to create the another, which is the const, and here inside of it I'm going to use the data container, and it is actually equals to again document dot get element by id, and inside of that we need to provide the code of the id, which is the container. So our container is this one, which is the data. So again coming back to this, and here I am going to paste the code. Then for the shuffling of these particular paragraphs, like if I show in the application, whenever I click it, then you can see every time the paragraphs is shuffled. So for that we need to create another function, and that function is actually our function shuffle. Function shuffle, and this is actually going to accept a one parameter of type array. Okay, and then I'm going to actually make here some space and just take this code to the top of the JavaScript file, and here inside of this content paragraphs I need to actually paste the list of the arrays. So I'm going to copy it from the internet, then I will be continuing the video again. So here you can see I have actually copied the code from the internet, means the array template code, because it is a very time consuming task. If I just do it manually, then it will be a very long running task and it will take a lot of time, and the length of the video will be increased like twice of this particular video, means it will become more than half an hour video. So I don't want to do that. That is the reason I have copied this code from the internet. So if I just take you to the end of the line of the paragraph, after the end of line of the paragraph you should provide a comma, and then you should enter the data, otherwise you will face the issue. So now it's time to add the code inside the shuffle function, that is actually used to shuffle the paragraph elements, which is the array elements. So what I mean is, whenever I click on the generate, so you can see these paragraphs are actually reshuffled. So this is actually achieved by using this shuffle function. So inside the generate we are going to call the shuffle function. So first we need to provide the code for the shuffle function. So inside of that, first we need to create two variables. The first is actually for the current index, and then we need to create the another variable, which is the random index. So let first I'm going to here type the current index, and then it's going to equal to our array. So this is the array, the local variable of this particular function, which is passed as an argument. And then we need to create another variable, which is the random index. So this is going to be empty node, we don't need to initialize it. Then we are going to use here a while loop, so that we can loop through the elements of the array. And here we need to run the loop according to whenever the current index is not equal to, we don't want to run the, so at this point of time the value is present here 5. So 5 is not equal to 0, which is actually true condition, because 5 is not equal to 0, but it's actually going to check the reverse condition. So that is the reason this loop will be executed. So instead of that, first we need to use the random index. So random index is equal to math dot floor function. So this actually is so that we can guess the closest value, which is a whole number. Then math dot random. So we need to here use the random function so that we can generate a random value, and this is going to be current index. So we are going to multiply the current index with the random function. Alright, and after that we are going to here decrementing the value of the current index to -1, and then we need to here swap the values of the array inside of that array. Then we need to again here use the brackets. So inside of that we need to pass the current index. So this code actually I get it from the Stack Overflow to actually shuffle the elements of the array. This is little tricky code. It uses an algorithm. So that is why I am just not going to explain this particular code, because this is like a very tricky part of the algorithm. It will take more than like a half an hour lecture to actually explain this entire code in more detail and step by step. So this is not a part of the DSA course. That is the reason I'm not going to explain this entire stuff. Then I need to create here another array bracket and just split into multiple lines. And after that, inside of that, I'm going to again call here array. That is the array, and then I'm going to start the random bracket. So main thing is it's going to replace the index. That is the reason, or we can say that the swapping of the index. Then here we need to use the current index. Alright, then I'm going to just simply remove the extra spacing. So this will actually does what? It's going to reshuffle the array. So after the end of this while loop, outside of the while loop body, we're going to return an array. So whatever we passed as an array, we're going to return it. So this marks the completion of the code for the shuffle function. And then I am coming back to the generate function. Instead of generate, first we need to check for the empty value. If the value is 0, so we want to actually display the condition. If I just go to the final product, if here is 0 and then click on generate, then we need to display this particular alert pop-up. So for that we need to check for the if condition. So if the value of the item dot value, so here we have the item value we already fetched it. So if the value of this item dot value is actually equal to 0, then we want to display the alert, not arguments, it's going to be alert, and then we need to pass here some message. The value cannot be 0. So after specifying the condition, now let's check it by control save. And if I enter here like 0, and if I click on the generate button, so it's actually not executing. What will be the reason? Now the problem inside of this particular line of the code, which is the line number 18, during the initialization. So I have actually here used the get element by id. So instead of the id, we don't need to specify this hash character, because this will be used when we are actually using the query selector. So if I use here like simply if I just remove it, because right now inside of this I have used the get element by id as a data. This data is also an id class attribute. So if I come back to the button, like where is the result container, this is the, so you can see this is actually id. So we have used the get element by id, but inside of this one I have actually specified the hash character. So that is the reason, so we need to remove it. So if we want to use the hash character for the fetching of the UI elements of the HTML, or I can say the HTML elements, then we can need to use here a query selector method. So this is a small mistake I did. So if I run it and if I just come back to the browser and enter here 0, click on generate, then you can see now we are actually getting the alert pop-up, which is the value cannot be 0. Okay, now coming back to the generate function. So instead of that we need to specify the else if condition, else if, and coming back to the brackets, then the body. So instead of that we need to check for the item value. Again we need to apply one more condition, item dot value. If it is greater than like our paragraph length, so we want to display a random paragraph, means at least we want to display a one paragraph. If I run the final application, so right now we have 10. If I enter here 11 and I click on generate, then it's going to display a one random paragraph to this particular application. So to achieve this one feature, we need to here check for the else if condition. Instead of that, then we are going to use these functions and we need to randomize the index. So here first we need to create a variable. So this variable is going to be like const random random index. Random index is equal to, then again here we need to use the math. Need to press the enter here. Math dot floor function. Instead of that we need to call the math dot random, and then we need to multiply it with paragraph dot length. Like the same code we have did here, but we inside the while loop we are going to use this one also. So this is actually here equal to sign, not a minus symbol. So with this line of code we are actually getting the random index, and that random index will be stored inside of this particular variable. And after that we need to use here a data container dot inner HTML. So this data container is actually the main container in which the paragraph will be displayed. So data container is equal to, we need to update its value. So we are going to use here a template string, and instead of that first we need to terminate it, and then here we are going to use the dollar symbol, and then we need to actually provide here a curly brackets, and instead of that we need to pass the paragraphs, the main array that we have actually defined at the top of this particular file of the javascript.js, and instead of that we need to pass the index. So that index is actually stored inside the random index variable. If I control save it and just simply try to run the application by incrementing the value to 11, which is actually greater than the value, then you can see now we are actually able to display the one paragraph randomly inside the data container. So these all conditions we have checked. So in the else part we are going to display the rest of the things, like if we enter here a 9. So right now we have elements, that is actually 9, 10 elements. So we are going to display a 9 paragraph. If user entered here a 5, then we want to display a 5 paragraph with the shuffling of the elements. So that is the reason we created this shuffle function. So coming back to the else part, so first we need to create here a variable which is const, and then we need to use here a shuffle paragraphs, which is the name of the variable. Shuffle paragraphs is going to equal to paragraphs, which is the array name of the variable. Then we need to call the shuffle function because we need to pass the arrays. So here we need to pass the paragraphs, which is the array. We want to actually shuffle the elements of the paragraph. Whenever we click on the function, we want to change the array, means we want to shuffle the array. Then here we need to use the const variable, which is for the selected paragraphs. Selected paragraphs is actually equal to the shuffled paragraphs, which is a variable as it is actually created at the top. So here we want to use the equal symbol, shuffle paragraphs dot slice. So we are going to use a slice. So frame we want to slice it from 0 to item dot value, and then we need to add here a paragraphs HTML is equal to, and then we need to use here a selected paragraphs dot map function, and inside of the map function we need to use here a paragraph and then the arrow sign, and then we need to pass here a template string. So by using the backtick character, and then inside of that we need to pass this particular same code. So I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Okay, and then instead of that I don't need to pass this round bracket, so delete it, and this will be closed. So we have passed the paragraphs. Okay, so if I just decrease the size of the window, means increase the size of the Visual Studio Code window, and then we need to call here a join function. We want to join it with the empty string because we want to create a string. So that is the reason we are actually want to join with the use of this join function. So after that we are getting our paragraphs because we are going to join all the paragraphs by using the map function. Okay, and then we need to set this data to the data container dot inner HTML is equal to paragraph HTML. So if I control save it and if I come back to my browser, so here if I click on the generate, now you can see we are actually able to generate the 5 paragraphs. One more thing, if I enter here like paragraph tag, like here we need to add the p tag. Again here we just go to view and word wrap. So the paragraph tag, and then after this here we need to add the closing tag of the paragraph element. Close the tag, and if I control save it, click on generate. Now you can see the things are now appearing in the much better way with proper indentation. So now we are successfully able to build this application. I know that there is two things I have not explained, these two lines of the code. The reason for that, this is actually a part of the algorithmic function, so which is actually a part of the DSA. It will take more than half an hour lecture to actually explain this concept. So finally I did this particular code, and now the main application is created. So you can see it's actually going to generate 5 function. If I enter here value 11, then it's going to display a 1 random function. If I enter here a 0, then it's going to display a 1 alert dialog, or you can say that the alert pop-up. So that marks the completion of this particular lecture. If you like this lecture, then leave a review, because your review definitely going to help me to increase the quality of my courses. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.